Welcome back to the Prosperity Pathways podcast. My name is Erica Downing, your host, Go by Erica Darshell, where we explore journeys and mindset strategies that empower and build wealth, create impact, and live with a purpose. Today, I'm honored to be joined by Director Lamont Carey, Executive Director of DC MORCA, the Mayor's Office of Returning Citizens Affairs. He's not only a powerful leader in reentry and reintegration work, but also an entrepreneur, author, advocate, who has turned his own journey into a platform for transformation. So I'll let yourself add anything that you might want the audience to know about you before I get into my question.
Well, not what I want them to know about me, but I just want to say thank you for giving me this opportunity to connect with your audience and share the good work that we're doing in Washington, D.C. for returning citizens and district residents as a whole.
Okay, so just a little background. I met Director here through the We Aspire Incubator here in Washington, D.C., which helps returning citizens in the D.C. area become entrepreneurs and business owners. And I also participated in the pitch competition, but you can check out my social media content to follow up on that. So my first question for you, was there a defining moment when you said, I need to do something different with my life?
Yeah, one day I woke up and I was in a prison cell, and my cell buddy foot was dangling off of the bed, and I was enraged, and but I know he didn't mean no harm, and I was like, man, I gotta get out of here. I gotta do something different. And then I was concerned about being a black man with violent felony convictions, that I wouldn't be able to come home, get a job, and live a fulfilling life. And so I had to figure out how to channel all of that fear into something and creativity. I mean, I've always tried to get money. I just needed to find a better way of doing that. And so I started escaping through writing. So I wrote books. And so when it was time for me to get ready to come home, I thought I was going to just start releasing the books, laying on the beach, and just chilling, right? And I thought that was going to be the change that I was going to experience. But coming home and struggling, facing some of the same barriers that other returning citizens face, made me want to do more.
So how did writing and creativity become a part of your healing process once you did figure out, like, that's your gateway?
So I didn't really know it was going to be part of my process. In prison, you have guys that do like battle rapping, and trying to get myself out of boredom, I used to try to, and one said that I was terrible as a battle rapper, but I tell great stories, and so he challenged me to write a book. And so I wrote the first book in 30 days, right? And I let him read it, and then other people started wanting to read it, so I figured I had something, and that kept me writing. But what writing did for me, it taught me structure, right? It taught me how to go from A to B, how to look at my situation in a whole view versus a narrow view. So it taught me how to not only just think through to the end, because sometimes I could be impulsive, but writing taught me how to begin, middle, and ending, and without harmful consequences, unless those are what I want. So writing taught me how to think better, how to plan better, and it gave me a freedom, because when I was writing, I wasn't in prison, even when I was writing prison stories, if that makes sense.
It does, because it frees your mind. That was always my gateway since I was a preteen.
Yeah.
Writing poetry, writing books, making up stories just to escape. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the same experience.
Yeah. So as executive director of DC MORCA, what does your day-to-day work look like?
So my day-to-day works, it depends. It depends on what day we're talking about, right? Being a cabinet member of the Bowles administration and being the executive director of the mayor's office on return and citizens affairs, it can vary. So on a typical day, coming to the office, myself and my team prepare to see clients throughout the day, developing programs, pushing initiatives, everything from making sure returning citizens know that they have the right to vote, that they should vote, why they should vote, and giving them the forms to do their voter registration and encourage them to vote. Like we aspire, we know that returning citizens come home with the same fear of finding employment as I had. And so we partner with DSLBD to make sure that we aspire is to capacity. Then we have another program that we do with them called Build the Dream. And so those are entrepreneurship programs for returning citizens that don't want to go the traditional route of having a job. And then my team spends their day connecting returning citizens to education, job training, and regular employment opportunities. And Mr. Ford, who you can't see because he's off camera, oversees our digital learning, right? Teaching returning citizens how to type, learning how to work their phones, whether it's iPhone or Android, because some of our people have been gone 20 years, 15 years, 50 years, and that technology divide is huge. And so program that he oversees help bridge that gap. Then we have like what is Morka She, that's specifically for returning citizen women and helping them with their healing. Then we have Legacy Reclaimed, that's a focus on returning citizen men, helping them overcome barriers and reconnecting with their family. And then we have a program with Georgetown University called Morka Georgetown Paralegal Program, where we enroll 15 returning citizens, and they're being trained by Georgetown on how to be a paralegal, which leads into further employment. And then we have a CDL program. And so our day-to-day looks like removing barriers for individuals with criminal records so they can go on and live the fulfilling life that they dreamed about incarcerated.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Actually, I didn't even realize Morka offered so many programs, and
That was
that's
probably
super awesome.
20% of what we do.
Yes, that is actually part of the reason I started my own company, because I realized no matter what I do, I feel like that record is like a shadow, and you're not going to reach the heights that you might want to because of it.
So, but
I always felt that way. That's why I started my own business.
And so I will challenge you with that, right? And so look back at your writing, right? Usually when I write, I either have a character that I'm invested in that's alive in my brain, or there's a obstacle, a barrier that I'm trying to overcome, or there's an ending that I'm trying to get to. And the point I'm trying to make, one of the things that writing taught me was to not look and think so narrow. And so a lot of returning citizens, including myself when I came home, had that narrow view. And that view was focused on my record. My record isn't going to allow me to do what I want to do. But when we're in prison, we have that big picture goal, right? Mm-hmm. And so my things that we try to convey to returning citizens to always think of the bigger picture, and that makes the barrier that smaller and easier for you to get over. So entrepreneurship, I'm glad you did it. You was able to create your own platform. You was able to get into the We Aspire program and thrive through that, right? And so challenge yourself or trying to figure out a way to overcome what you saw as a barrier, create another whole lane for you, and then introduce you to a plethora of individuals that can support you in that effort. Because if you didn't join We Aspire, we probably wouldn't be sitting here for a number of years until we run across each other. And so that's my thing, is that when you are facing with a barrier, always try to think of where you're trying to go, and that may help you in decreasing how enormous that the barrier see in your life. Because the one thing for sure, there are a lot of returning citizens that not only thriving in DC, but all over the country, all over the world, and through employment. They found jobs, employers took a chance on them, and they thrive. And now we have some that create their own business that are going to hire returning citizens because they understand the plight. And so even though it's a barrier, it's not as big as you think that it is.
Yeah, that's actually why I wore sweatpants today instead of wearing a dress, because this company was started by a returning citizen, spent most of his life in and out. And he started a business where he's helping people invest the money. So he's thriving in that.
Wow.
And yeah.
So he's good at helping people make money?
Yes, he is.
Nice.
Yes, he is. He teaches the class. He shows how he does it, and he has a weekly podcast to help people stay up to date. Like
That's
Bloomberg.
Nice. That's nice.
I have my whole network of Black Bloomberg and CNBC that I watch.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. We could talk about that after. All right. So what are the biggest barriers returning citizens face when re-entering society, in your opinion?
So I'll start with one that most people don't focus on, and that is fear. A large portion of our population go to prison as juveniles or young adults. So they haven't really had their own apartment. They've never had to get their birth certificate, look for a job. And so then when you come home after doing a long period of time in prison and have to function as an adult without the know-how, the proper guidance, so on, that could be like intimidating, right? And that is one of the biggest barriers, the fear. Then there is the self-doubt, insecurities that come with transitioning to this new world. And most people say it's housing, it's employment, which is true.
Yeah.
It is true, because returning citizens need opportunities to be able to take care of themselves, take care of their family that they're reuniting with, and be able to have a roof over their head. So those are absolutely true. And those are like the three bigger ones that we deal with now. It is said that there are 54,000 barriers for individuals who have criminal convictions, right? And so I just named 3 out of 54,000.
Part of that fear is also not seeking the psychological help that may be needed for some people as well. Because I know that was part of what helped me.
Right.
Is actually seeking psychological help, but a lot of communities have a stigma about it, and so they never actually seek that extra help that could push them to a whole nother level, and they don't even realize it.
But I think for some of our population, you have to know that there's an issue, right? Now you have individuals that went to prison, or before they went to prison, knew that they had some mental health or some other kinds of limitations, and stopped taking their medication, and it led to incarceration. But I know most individuals who go to prison are going to be traumatized. I mean, just it being an inhumane environment, right? A subculture that don't participate in the norms, right? The values that we have are minimized, right? And so that you can get in a fight over a cupcake that you would disregard in the free world. Right, but you have to realize that you may need some support in getting your mind back on track to adjusting into this life. And there is a stigma, especially in our community, when you think of going to see a therapist or a psychiatrist, we say you crazy, right?
Yeah.
And nobody want to be labeled as less than or different than. And so I agree with you.
I feel like going to see a psychologist is the safest thing you can do.
Yeah.
Rather than repeating the same cycle over and over again and expecting a different result, which is the definition of crazy.
Right.
And that's just my opinion on it as well. So if you could change one system or policy tomorrow to support long-term reintegration, what would it be?
If I could change it tomorrow, policy that I would be looking at individuals that have been incarcerated. So say if you've been sentenced to 5 years and you're doing 3 and you don't have a parole date, I think it's a disservice to the community as a whole that we don't routinely, one, make sure the supports are in institutions to help individuals shift their thinking. When there is college allowed inside of the institution, people take advantage of college. Some have degrees, some got doctorates when the college programs in there, and it decreases the chances of recidivism, right? If individuals participating in any educational program, it enhances their chances of being successful once released. If individuals are participating, as all of us do, in working jobs inside of the institution, it helps us build the skill set, and we can be able to utilize those skill sets in the community. So if I could change one thing right now on the inside, it would be to make parole hearings way sooner than they actually are.
Okay.
But in the community, I would strengthen our current laws that employers, renters are not allowed to use our criminal record against us if we can clearly afford to live, to purchase things that we have the money to do, but because of our record, we may be denied from doing.
Yes, because that blanket not accepting felonies, I can understand not accepting maybe pedophiles if you don't want to, but even sometimes that's a misunderstanding. But just blanket no felonies. Oh, I can't get in a high rise.
Right. Sometimes it's not even just a felony, it's just having a criminal record.
Period.
Period.
Yeah. It's encompassing. So,
but let me say,
okay, go ahead.
Because we have banned the box, that gives, in the district, it gives you the opportunity not only to apply for an apartment, because it doesn't supposed to be on the application, to apply for a job, because if you're a district-based business or operating inside of the district, it doesn't supposed to be on the application unless it's like law enforcement or very sensitive communities that an individual works in, that they could look at background and the ability to occupational, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to be a barber, I'm trying to get training in, and being a barber is not allowed to be held up or not be allowed to be on the application. And the premise behind this so that I can get in front of you and be able to tell you how I can pay this rent, because I can show you the pay stubs, right? I can list on the application versus you looking at the application and seeing me checking that box saying that I've been convicted, and you don't look at it and just throw the application in the trash.
Exactly.
So in the district, we have afforded, or we do afford returning citizens that opportunity by making it law where it can't be on the application.
Okay, so that's a bonus for those who live here. So, what role has entrepreneurship played in your transformation?
When I came home, I eventually was selling like socks, pocketbooks, watches, right? And look, people underestimated I was able to pay rent, buy cars, buy whatever I needed from selling watches, from selling pocketbooks, from selling socks that I was getting from like a wholesale market, right? And so that was my entry into legal entrepreneurship.
Mm-hmm.
And then that sustained me where I was able to go in to do some of the stuff that I was doing before this. I started putting out some of the books. I fell into poetry, started traveling around the country, but selling socks, watches, and pocketbooks was my introduction to legal entrepreneurship.
Okay. Yeah, I went to Union Market and got the cheap dresses and sold them for like
same spot.
Yeah. People don't realize it's not what it used to be either, unfortunately. What advice do you give someone who wants to start a business after incarceration but doesn't know where to begin?
So first I would say you begin with what it is that you're trying to do, right? I also would say you can Google how to start a business or where to register a business in whatever state that you're in. And then it'll tell you the process. But on your end, I would say, figure out what the product or service is that you're trying to provide. Who is the target market? Meaning who your customer is going to be, where they spend their money, how they spend their money, what are the things that they need, and how do you put yourself where they are so they can discover that your products and services exist. But what I do caution you of, don't wait till it's perfect. You got to start. That's the only way. You have to start, because if you wait till you got all your ducks in a row, you may never get that business started. But if you start today, you'll learn from your mistakes. But also you have access now to like YouTube, the internet in general, to learn from others' mistakes and other successes on how they started and grew their businesses and what challenges they faced and how they were able to overcome them. So I tell anyone, whether you're a returning citizen or just a regular citizen around the world, if you want to start a business, there's probably a minimum of 1 million people in this world that could utilize that product or service. And all you got to get to is 1 million. I mean, it's like billions of people in the world, and you're just trying to get to a few million, right? And so
I don't need them all. I don't need all the trillions of people in the world.
right.
10%, 1%.
But if you can get to 90%, go ahead and get to 90%.
Yeah. That works. That works. You got to start small. So the next question: what's one lesson from failure that reshaped how you lead and run business today?
One failure. I think my first failure thought that everybody was my customer. And it's not, right? And so I learned who my true customer was by them being the ones that purchase. Like, for example, my first book that I released was called The Heal. I thought men who had been locked up was going to buy it. But you know what they were saying? Man, Shorty, I already been through that, man. I don't want to read that. But the women, they was like, I want to know what they doing in there. Right? And so I found out that my customer was women. And so that was one of the mistakes that I learned, and that I also hear a lot of entrepreneurs saying now, that my product and service for everybody, but that ain't true. You got to figure out who your actual market is, and so you can get to them faster and meet that need or want that they have.
Yeah. A good example of that would be, I want to name Apple, right? Because when Apple first came out, it wasn't for everybody. Everybody has it now, but it wasn't for everybody. They started with the target audience, and then you spread out, right?
Right.
So my next question for you: how does storytelling help people reclaim their voice and power?
Storytelling. So when I think of storytelling, it can be done in a variety of ways, right? It could be done through how you dress, how you move, how you write, how you draw. So for me, storytelling, it's impossible not to find your voice when you recognize who you are and what you want and the story that you want to tell. But I know most of us, like I was talking to a woman the other day that wrote like thousands of poems, but she's only read them to her children. But in a way, she has found her voice because she's working in the industry to help people overcome the barriers that she had faced, even though she has never shared none of her work. But you are sharing your work by the work that you do. But now here's another way that you can reach more people by releasing it. But storytelling makes you more confident in the story because it's your story, right? And so you're able to create it in any way that you want. And so that knowing that it's your story, that it's unique, but not unique, it's a unique experience for you internally, but it's not unique because there is probably millions of people that have experienced it. And once you realize that you have overcome your story, but not overcome, but overcoming, and somebody else identifies with your story and took some value from your story, I think it makes you more confident. And so I think your story builds and makes you more confident once you share it and see how it helps someone else.
I agree. Do you want to share some of the titles of your books with the audience?
I know
I know you.
I'm at work. I
I
can't.
heard you mention the hill, so that's one of them you mentioned. And then I have 2 children's books on Amazon as well for financial literacy. So there's Beyond Survival Book 1, and then there's King's Money
So if you want to
Adventure.
find anything else about me, just look up
Yeah,
Lamont
just look up
Carey.
Lamont Carey. Yes, and his name will also be in the description, and I'll find his books and I'll put the links in. All right. So our next question: for those who feel their past disqualifies them, which we've covered a couple of times, what do you say about owning and sharing their story?
So like I think, yeah, like I've said earlier, everybody has a past. And it's believed in the district alone that there is maybe 65,000 returning citizens, individuals who have been incarcerated. And if you look, they say 1 in 5 or something have a relative or something that has been incarcerated in the United States. So your story has more power than you can ever imagine. So don't let your past be a barrier to you or anyone else, because there's opportunities for you to speak on how you got that past, and that could prevent young people from going down and doing that same thing that you did that ended you up with having a past, meaning a criminal record, right? And then there are those who have a criminal record, and you may have been able to find a job, you may have been able to start a business, you may have been able to run an agency, and not being ashamed of your past helps release other people from letting their past keep them in the dark. And so sharing your past open doors for yourself and for others, because they can't use it against you if you already voicing it. And it's your past, so it can't come back to haunt you unless you do something again.
Yeah. And I think that's the biggest fear for people is if they mention it to people, then everybody's gonna have it in their mind that it might happen again.
But we've been judged,
Yeah.
despite what people say or believe, that we're always being judged from our hair, the way my eye blink, from the way I walk. Like you're always being judged and having a criminal record. Some of us is going to be believe that we have a criminal record because people just never engaged us based off our race, based off of where we live. So don't create a barrier, additional barrier for yourself by not being comfortable with being who you are now is what's important, not who you were, unless you're using it to help other people. But who you are now should be the biggest reflection of where you're going.
Yeah, your experiences create who you are today.
Yeah.
So don't disregard them. Doing this work is heavy. How do you protect your peace and stay grounded?
How do I protect my peace and stay grounded? Well, I know that the work is the work. And one of the things that I had to learn is to separate the emotions that may surface based off an interaction with a person, with the organization, because it's not personal. It is not about me. It's everybody trying to accomplish what it is that they're trying to accomplish. So one of the biggest parts of me being able to keep my peace is I had to recognize that it's not personal. And then this is my passion, right? And so it doesn't always feel like work. And so I'm more at peace when I'm at work.
Yeah. I mean, that's what they say when you're actually starting to fulfill your passion, even when it feels like work, it doesn't feel like work. So that works. I can't find a different word. All right. So what routines, habits, or mantras keep you moving forward when things are getting tough?
Routines. So I like to, when I have the free time, it's the store I like to go to and just purchase little small items for me to eat doing the work, right? That's my routine. I'm like an old man. If I got a Saturday off, I'm going to this place. But my mantra is keep your hustle, but change your product. And so what that means to me is I used to have this lifestyle in the past that sent me to prison. And the things that I did were illegal, but there were transferable skills that from that previous lifestyle that I was able to carry over into a legit world, right? And so keep your hustle, but change your product, meaning for those that's getting ready to come home or those that just came home, don't do nothing illegal. Entrepreneurship exists, and most people are doing entrepreneurship in some form or fashion in illegal activity. You just got to change your product, right? Mm-hmm. Change your product to something that is not going to send you to prison, like selling socks, selling watches, selling pocketbooks.
If you were a salesman, just choose a different product. That's
right.
All cars and clothes or food. Even if you don't know how to cook, you can invest in a friend or a family member and help them build it up by investing. All right, so our next one, what impact do you hope to leave, personally and professionally?
Personally, I feel I owe a debt, right? Not only to the district, but I think everything has a tripling effect. And so the personal impact is that I have completely and fully evolved from the child I was to the man that I am, and that there is no contradiction in who I am, because how I present myself is who I am through and through. And the impact that I hope to leave externally is that I was involved or created a pathway to have a positive impact on a person's life that may have been going in another direction or didn't think that something better existed for them.
Yeah, that's the primary goal for the Prosperity Pathways podcast and myself. Is a lot of people go down that road where they end up incarcerated or just have a terrible life experience because they were never exposed to better opportunities. They didn't know they were available, or if they did see it, it was always on TV and things of that nature. And usually if you just see something on TV, it's a fantasy.
Right.
And so you just see it as such, and you think it's unattainable.
But everything is attainable.
Yes.
I remember I just saw a video clipping on the Jetsons, and they had flat screen TVs on this cartoon.
TVs come out the ceiling and all that.
Coming out the ceiling and everything except for, I think, the flying cars, and I think they're working on that.
They are.
Came to fruition. And so anything that you dream of or think of is possible, but you're going to have to create it.
Yeah, there is a quote for that too. It's like anything that a man can create in his mind can be created in real life. So as long as you put your mind to it, it might take time, but it'll happen. All right, so I'm almost done with you. I'm sorry, I'm stuttering a lot. Anyways, if you could speak directly to someone currently incarcerated or just coming home, what's the one thing you'd want them to hear?
You could do this. I don't care how long you've been incarcerated. I don't care what you're currently going through in the community. If you stay focused, if you figure out what it is that you want to do and you start working towards it now, whether you're in a cell or in the community, you can accomplish it. Like we need you to accomplish it. That creativity, that philosophy, those visions that you have is needed. And we need you to be the person to deliver it. And I ain't saying it's going to be easy. And I ain't saying when you get on that path that it's just going to be smooth. But what I can tell you, if you start planning for your release now, that means looking at where you're going to live. You might have one person that's agreeing for you to live there, but try two. Have a backup, right? Take full advantage of the programs and the institution that you currently in. Or If there's no program in there, there's a library. Build a relationship with the librarian so the librarian can kind of get you literature on those things that you say you want to do so you can learn more about how to do it. And if you're free, in America, there's a reentry program in your state. If not, one of the things I will encourage you to do is probably an NA or AA program in your community. If you want supervision, parole or probation, utilize your parole officer or probation officer as a resource. Why? Because there have been other people that have been on parole and probation that has gotten jobs, that have secure housing, that have found programs, and they had to report all of that back to your parole officer or to your probation officer. So if you build a relationship with that officer, they can release some of those opportunities that you could try to get that somebody else has already walked through that door before you. So whether you're in the community or whether you are in prison, we need your brilliance. And it's going to be a disservice to yourself and to the community at large if you don't just try. Just give it 4 months of you trying to accomplish that goal. And I can guarantee you're going to meet somebody that is trying to do that same thing. They may be where you are, they may be further ahead of you and pull you along, or they may be behind you and y'all can walk that journey together. But your dreams, your thoughts are worthy, and we can't wait to receive them as long as they positive. There's going to be a way and a lane for you. Now, if you come out here and they negative, then there are consequences to that. But what we need from you is to come out and become that better person that you have manifested while you was incarcerated. And if you living in a shelter, living in a tent, that ain't your last destination. Just get out there and start building relationships and figure out how to get on that path that you desire to be on. The opportunities exist, regardless if you have a record. People are thriving in this country.
Yep. And a great example are the legal immigrants who came over here with nothing. Their barrier isn't a record, it's language. And they still make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So we can make it happen. Just put your mind to it. Sit down and really focus on something that you're willing to put your all into.
One thing that somebody had told me a long time ago, that I was 100% successful regardless of what barrier that came in my path, because I lived to endure it and I lived to overcome it. And so regardless of what you are facing, you can overcome it, or you can learn to live with it and navigate, get the best quality of life that you can possibly have.
Okay. That's very true. I've got a couple more questions for you. So what's next for you and your work?
Right now, we are looking to how to put more returning citizens on a pathway to the middle class, to build financial independence and stability. We have coming up how to become a government vendor in the next couple of months. We have the patent and trademark office coming to teach clients on how to protect their logos, their inventions. We have a first-time home buyers program taking place now. And we're just looking at how can we create more opportunities for returning citizens, not only to come home and get a job, but to come home and thrive. And for me personally, right now I'm just enjoying the journey. And what I've learned is that God typically opens the door, the next door that I'm supposed to go through.
Yeah. If you're going in the right direction, they'll just
Right.
keep opening. Some of them might have to jiggle the rock a little bit, but it opens.
Yeah.
It feels that way. All right. So where can listeners follow, support, and get involved with your journey?
So we have, so if you look up Orca or Morca.dc, you could generally find all the things that the agency is doing. We on LinkedIn, we on Facebook, we on Twitter, we on Instagram, and we have videos and stuff on YouTube. And for me as an individual, just Google Lamont Carey and it'll lead you to all the ways to stay connected to me.
Okay. So my closing question, right? What is one key insight, mindset shift, or habit change that has been instrumental in your journey? And how can listeners apply it to their own wealth building path?
You said, repeat that again?
Okay. What is one key insight, a mindset shift, or a habit change that has been instrumental in your journey? And how can listeners apply it to their own wealth building journey?
Uh,
Because wealth is more than just money, it's your mind and everything else.
one mind shift. I think the biggest things for me is as long as I wake up on this side of the gate, I'm winning. I'm successful. And I just build up upon that success every day and never put myself in a position where I have to engage law enforcement in a negative way. My main goal is to be free. And that allows all these other things, opportunities to manifest because I'm within reach of them and I can't be in reach of them. There's too many barriers inside a prison for me. And so if you could take anything from what I say, whether you've been incarcerated or not, being free creates the pathway for opportunities to thrive and accomplish wealth, whether that's however you envision wealth, it exists out here. You should be free in your pursuit of it.
Okay. So with that answer, I do have one more question, right? What is your definition of free?
Simple. I don't have to do what, a 3:00 count time, right? All over America, at 3:00 there's a count time, right? Where you have to stand in a cell with somebody that you probably don't even know, being forced to live with, being told when I can come out of the cell, being told when I can eat, or having to take my clothes off, strip, bend over, spread my cheeks and cough so another man to make sure I'm not hiding something inside of me. Not being forced to endure all of that is freedom for me.
Okay.
That's true freedom for me. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, not having to go through that, and also if I do have to go through that, like I think not like, but I believe it was Nelson Mandela who had been falsely incarcerated, who said, "You, as long as your mind is free, you're always free." But physically, you can't be if somebody is forcing you to do stuff that.
Now you can find freedom in prison, but it's temporary. Most of us have this hope of what life is going to be like for us when we get out. And that is how so many people have been able to make it through long periods of incarceration, because there are people that commit suicide on a regular basis. There are people that don't live to come home, right?
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons. So if you have made it through anything, through incarceration, through domestic violence, through poverty, or if you're living in it and you're making it through it, you're winning. You just don't realize how much you're winning, and what you're dealing with today can change tomorrow, but you have to be actively working to change it.
Yeah.
There's no genies in the bottle. Not saying that
No saying that.
miraculous things don't happen, but betting on yourself produces miraculous things.
Yeah. I would say the only time that I actually felt what Nelson Mandela was saying was when I went to solitary once. Because I felt to keep up.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about these other people and what they might say or do.
Right.
I'm just in there by myself. That's the only time I
Yeah.
sit there and read.
Yeah.
I read the whole time. I had an old lady who gave me free books. There's nobody sent me money, but that's neither here nor there. Oh,
But that's a true experience though.
It is.
And it's not rare,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
I did it. I mean, I lived through it too. Years without getting a letter and being in a cell with somebody that's getting letters and you feel unloved, unappreciated, appreciated. They having money on their books where they're able to go to commissary and you may not have those same, and you feel may suffer from abandonment, right? But you can make it through all of that.
Yes.
And you can come out here, right? Don't be angry. Don't be like, I ain't gonna never speak to them again. The best revenge that you can have is success.
Yeah. There's abandonment issues before that even.
Yeah.
It's been a long life. So
But you made it.
it's been a long, short life and it's still going up.
Yep.
Yep. Well, I appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
And I appreciate your answers. Hope the audience reaches out. And thank you.
Thank you.